Hey, it's Christy from Inity, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about energy and how that plays into building your team as well as your community. So I wanted to talk about energy because, as you may have noticed, and as I was called out the other day, I haven't been doing morning tea 5 days a week for the past few weeks, but at least I can say for the past couple of weeks I was wrapping up a summer session for a marketing class I was teaching at Cal State Fullerton, so I had to grade projects, get the grades in, all that good stuff. I also took on, I don't even call them my clients, I'm working with an artist. I am now his manager and working on the onboarding and building his foundation and getting him ready for his album release, hopefully sooner than later. And my last excuse, but it's also my truth, is that some negative energy has gotten into my space. And I am a very introspective person, a very intuitive person, and I'm a very feeling person. And so when that happens, definitely takes me some time to process it and to get into the right mindset. And though it usually doesn't deter me from being proactive and productive, I just felt like I could go ahead and just take the time and process that. So that way I can show up for you in the best possible light. But as you know, I show up sometimes feeling very vulnerable and emotional, but I'm human. Ta-da! So anyways, I want to talk about energy because it really has to do with tapping into your gut. And I think it's important, especially when you are being approached with opportunities and really who you allow into your space. Because I don't know about you, but for me, I am very protective of who I allow in my space. Does that make sense? I'm protective of myself, so therefore I'm picky about who I allow in my space. And it doesn't, necessarily go for people I've just been introduced to, but this also goes for people who have been in my life for years. Sometimes it's just not the vibe I want in my life. It's not the energy I want. They're not the mindsets I want to be around all the time, and so I'll keep them at a distance or whatnot. But one thing I can tout before I move on is that, in thinking about it, I have not one toxic relationship in my life. And I hope that you can get to that point if you're not there already. It takes work and uncomfortable conversations, and like I said, keeping certain people at a distance, but it's definitely worth it because it's very freeing. And when we talk about energy and good energy, in a sense, it also encompasses this feeling of freedom, right? Because when I think of someone who has good energy, at least for me, I think of someone who's positive, that positive energy, but also that emanates this sense of safety. I feel safe around this person. Doesn't necessarily mean I might trust them off the bat, but I feel very comfortable with just being who I am unapologetically. And also there's this sense of calm, right? So when I talk about energy also, you have to realize that it has an enormous impact in what we're drawn to. I was like, did I say that right? But in who we're drawn to and how we feel. So in using the music industry, for instance, or as an example, really just any creative industry, but for music, you've probably heard the saying that it's about who you know, right? It's all about who you know if you want to get to that next level. But I'm going to extend that and say it's also about who you end up working with. So for instance, I talked about managing an artist. So if you are an artist, a creative, an influencer, what have you, and you feel like you are ready to hire or take on a manager, think about what it is that you need to get done. Think about what it is that you don't like doing that you can have them do, yes, but also think about who you are and the kind of person that you want to be around. Think about the kind of character that you vibe with, what their ideals are, what their views are. Yes, of course, their accomplishments and their go-getter attitude and their business savvy and their industry savvy, I should say. But is this somebody that you can see yourself not only being around all the time? Doesn't mean you're always going to be in agreement, but somebody you mesh with, who you mesh with, because I feel like it's really important and can make the difference between whether or not your project or your career is successful. Because when you are vibing well with the person that you're working with on basically a day-to-day basis, I mean, one less obstacle that you have to deal with is having to deal with, a certain type of personality all the time. So trust me, it's very freeing if you're able to find somebody in that respect. But also, I do want to say that you are not always going to get to work with the kind of people that you want to work with all the time. Maybe it's like a project or something that's short term. It might be somebody who knows their shit and gets things done, or knows the right people or whatever it is, and their energy might not vibe with yours. They might even be toxic. You're gonna have to deal with that sometimes. They don't necessarily have to be a part of your family, if you know what I'm talking about. So you do have to get used to that. But what I am talking about is more like the long term. Who's a part of your musical family? Who's part of helping you really build your career, and who's going to be there for the long run. And also, I also want to talk about opportunities that you are presented with. And I do have another video talking about, urgency versus intuition, or certain opportunities that you can pass up. But when I'm talking about energy here, there's right now, especially, there are companies and collaboratives and bloggers and influencers and all that who are heeding the call of amplifying Black voices. They're heeding the call of amplifying brown and LGBTQ voices and so forth. And so now that they're doing that, and I'm seeing it a lot, and that's great, but you should also think about what they're doing and whether it's genuine or if it's performative. And a way to do that first is to really look at what they've done before the uprising, the current uprising. So, have they always been about social justice and amplifying voices of people of color and so forth? Is it something that they just started doing, like that they moved on at the start of the uprising and heeding that call? Or is it something that they've never said or done anything about, and so you could potentially be that token person of color? I'm just using a person of color for instance, that they are like, hey, can you do this for us? So it's just kind of something to look into. What have they said about social justice, institutionalized racism, Black Lives Matter? And how has their narrative changed since the uprising? And are they having the difficult conversations and so forth, which could possibly put their brand on the line? Or is that what their brand has always been about? So yes, I have my notes. I always say that, so I'm not just looking down at, my nails. But if you're asked to write, if you're asked to perform or speak on a panel, or like I said, anything virtually right now, even in the future 2021, when things open up and everything is roses and daisies and we have a new president and all that stuff, I'm manifesting that. Do you feel like it's performative? So, all the things that I mentioned, in a sense, you can kind of analyze it on the surface level, but if you're still unsure, think about when you talk to these folks. How did it feel? Like, what was the energy like? I feel like, that's always like the tell-all right there. So at the end of the day, whoever you allow into your space, whoever you bring onto your team, whoever you, join with to help build your community, what is the vibe like? What is the energy like? And if nothing else, when we're talking about energy, how does that person, how does that idea, how does that opportunity make you feel? And it's one of those things where if it's like good energy, the kind of energy you want in your space, does it make you feel expansive? Does it make you feel free? Or does it make you feel literally tense? You know, because your body will tell you. It is a physiological thing. It's not just some like out there, oh, this energy thing. No. Your body will definitely tell you, because also energy is also about letting go of what doesn't serve you. Letting go of what doesn't serve you and really what doesn't feel right. And you don't want any of that in your life. This is a new day. You know, this isn't only going to be a new society that we are going to approach at the other side and manifesting that as well, but also for yourself. You need to be a part of that new wave of consciousness when it comes to corporations and the music industry and other creative industries. Just because things are, or things have been the way they've been, or things have been done the way they've been done, doesn't need to be like that anymore, because it really is about the people and it's about us. So that is all I have for you today. I hope it wasn't too out there for you. I hope it makes sense. If you have questions, if you need clarification, please hit me up in the comments, send me a DM. Again, we just want to put out good energy into the world, and in order to do that, it starts with you and the space that you create for yourself and the people you let in there, okay? So remember that you're an artist, you are a visionary, and you're a leader, and you're a part of a generation of activists at the forefront of positive change. So I'm laughing because my stomach just growled. I hope you didn't hear that, because I'm not recording this again, but have a beautiful day, one love, and we'll link again.